We have a question from Kelly's Homemade Kitchen. Kelly's Homemade Kitchen asks, do you really think RFK Jr. will wind up being Trump's running mate? I hope to God not. I hope to God not as well, because unfortunately, I think if Donald Trump did end up picking Bobby for his running mate, I think that becomes an unstoppable Republican ticket. I really, really do. Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying that because I'm a fan of Bobby Kennedy Jr. As some people may know, some may not, but I've avoided this conversation. I've avoided it, and I can't avoid it anymore. So here it is. And some of you may already know this. If not, this may come as, a huge surprise to some folks watching this. I worked for Bobby. That's why I call him Bobby and not Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He's always been Bobby to me. At Ring of Fire, he and Mike Papantonio started Ring of Fire together. So I worked for Bobby as his producer, as a researcher, not on that horrible stuff, for over a decade that Bobby was with us with that show. Of course, I am now Ring of Fire. I've now taken it over. But Ring of Fire started because of him. And I worked for him and of course, Pap, who I still work for over a decade. And so there is that personal relationship there. There was, a couple years ago, an incident where I did a video at Ring of Fire where I said that the anti-vaxxers are no different than climate change deniers. This was after Bobby had left Ring of Fire. And what I had heard from our producer at the time was that Bobby was so mad that I did that. He texted our producer and said he wants to debate me because I said that anti-vaxxers, again, were like climate change deniers, because the climate change deniers look at the science available, like the anti-vaxxers, and just say, nope, I don't like it. I disagree with it. So that's why I made that comparison. I didn't even mention him in the video, by the way. But so I don't think there's any love left in that relationship, even though I worked for him for so long. I say one thing he didn't like. And again, this is according to my producer. Maybe he was making it up. I don't know. But either way, that's where that relationship stands. Now, back to your actual question here. Like, could Bobby be Trump's running mate? Yes, he could. And I do think, if you think back to last summer, remember those wacky Q people that were hanging out in Dallas because JFK Jr. was supposed to come back from the dead and then he was going to be Trump's running mate? I bring that up because you obviously have a faction of the crazy true believers in Donald Trump who are fans of the Kennedys, and they want a Kennedy to run with Trump. So if Trump were to pick Bobby, it'd be an unstoppable ticket. So, that's a terrifying thought. Donald Trump and Bobby have been friends, cordial at least. Trump came out this past week, actually praised him, said they've had a good relationship for many years. So it is what it is. I think it's a horrifying possibility, but it is a possibility. But I mostly, wanted to get that off my chest about the past relationship, with Bobby through Ring of Fire and all of that. Because it's something I always like to be honest. I don't want somebody to bring up oh my God, I just found out Farron worked for Bobby. I've never hidden it. I've avoided most conversations about Bobby. I've held my tongue. I don't have any horror stories, by the way, before anybody asks that question. No, Bobby was always nice and cordial. He was a very kind person, especially to animals. There was one time we walked in the studio up in New York, and he had, as he was leaving his house, he found a little baby bird on the sidewalk, so he had a can of dog food. And while he's on the air, he's scooping the dog food out and feeding it to the baby bird, so that it didn't die. And it's wow, what a kind guy. Obviously things are different now, and he's pushing things that I wholeheartedly disagree with, and I think the science disagrees with. But I don't have any bad stories about Bobby. He never yelled. He never lost his temper with me at all. But I do think the way he has turned, he is much more Republican, in my opinion, than Democrat. And if he were running as a Republican, not as Trump's running mate, but just in the Republican primary, he would probably get that nomination in a heartbeat. Hey everyone, this is Aspen. And did you know that for the low cost of $0 per day, you can subscribe to the Fair and Balanced YouTube channel? We also encourage you to like, comment, and share. But again, click that subscribe button and help Aspen not be so grumpy.